Time being 6 o'clock, I'm going to call the Board of Health meeting to order. All members are present with the exception of Kevin Whalen. Would everyone please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. All right, to the first item on our agenda this evening are announcements from the Health Department. I will turn things over to our health agent, Chris Schultz, for those announcements.
Okay, just a couple quick things. First of all, we still have flu and COVID boosters available by appointment. You can go online, sign up. We're doing them right in our office, and we have plenty of them. Second, the compost site is officially closed for the season. We'll be reopening April 6th. Until then, if you have mattresses that you need to get rid of, you can call us at the office, and we'll arrange a time to meet down there to pick them up or dispose of them. And I guess I should also mention that renewals for permits, we are now past due. I got about maybe a dozen food establishments in Abington that have not turned in their paperwork yet. The fee is now doubled. But those two need to be in definitely before January 1st, or you will not be allowed to sell food. So please get them in as soon as possible. And that's it.
Thank you. Any questions? None?
Have
Right.
you,
Oh,
sorry,
sorry,
have
go
you
ahead.
gotten an update about the rat traps you had set out? I feel like, I know you had set them out, and then you were just asking if the, if people were, if they had, activity to call you, or has there been any updates? Like, has they been successful? Because I know they're like the newer.
Yeah, I haven't gotten additional requests for them. The ones that are deployed, I think I have 10 stations out, and about 3 of them are showing activity.
Cool, okay, nice.
I don't know if
I
it's
just realized we
decreased
haven't
enough.
updated that in a while, so. I just
Yeah,
wanted
I'm
to-
actually gonna notify everyone that has one that we're gonna discontinue doing it for the winter because the bait freezes. And then come spring, we'll be more than happy to drop off a 3-month supply
Sweet,
that they can
okay.
do themselves.
Okay,
Great.
thanks.
Any other questions? None? All right, I'll move on to our discussion action items for the evening. The first item is a discussion and vote to approve the regulation restricting the sale of tobacco products and the regulation prohibiting smoking workplaces and public places. Every member of the board should have a copy of the drafts as we've been looking at. I want to mention that the piece of paper that's in front of us is not going to be the one that we signed because it is still redlined, but it is the correct wording that we need. So we should, before we vote on anything, make sure this is the version that we want to vote on, so that we can get that done properly. So if we can, I'll kind of give us a couple minutes here just to kind of scan through. If we catch anything, make sure this is good to go. Otherwise.
It's nice to see the half hour I spent updating this apparently did not work. None of it saved. I took all those red lines out and updated it, and apparently it did not print as such. So yay me.
Okay. Yeah, so we still have the two sections in here that we removed at the last meeting, so we can vote on them sans those two. But just to let you know, they're in this particular document, which is why we're not going to sign this one. Those would be the training section and the adult-only section.
So since we're removing the adult-only, number 2 under section 4 would also be removed as well? Or are we leaving that in there just in case?
Number 2 on section 4 of where?
Section 4, smoking, the use of tobacco and marijuana products prohibited. Number 2 is one of the smoking locations is adult-only retail tobacco stores, but since we're removing that from, do we also want to remove the reference to an adult-only retail tobacco store? You're gonna see what I'm saying?
Well, okay, so I was looking at the wrong regulation.
Yep.
So, oh, they're still prohibited in the store, because we allow them. They're still prohibited in the store.
Right, okay, just wanted
So
to make
that
sure,
would-
yep, you're right, yep. Still trying to get into a different mode here.
All good.
It's better to ask questions than
100%.
stay silent, right? That's what I'm going with.
Totally.
Listen, just make me all feel better, all right? That's what I'm
Yes.
looking for.
100%.
You're doing the right thing. You're doing the right thing. It's going
I
fine.
just need high fives all around.
Chris, I think what happened here is you left the red lines on, so all the changes you made marked as new red lines,
Yeah,
as opposed to
you're good.
getting rid of the old ones. That's where that came from. Okay. Things are looking good on my end here. I don't know if anybody's catching anything else they want to make sure gets covered.
Under section 6, enforcement, it is the Abington Board of Health and its designees, including the Tisbury Police Department and Tisbury Harbor Master Department. Pretty sure they don't have authority to enforce our regulations.
Yeah. So let's make sure that's corrected to
So-
remove Harbor Master and say Abington.
Abington Police Department, yep. See, I did ask a question, that was what.
Yay, good eyes.
I'm gonna go home now, bye guys. I feel like we had caught that before.
Yeah,
When we
me
first went
too.
through this.
Yeah,
I
this
remember that
is-
being like that's such a
Right.
specific, weird.
Yeah, and this is again left over from that,
Yep.
I don't know, whatever template they were using, change. Don't get me started. Let's check it. So obviously, anything in here, if there are any other errors not mentioning Abington, I think we can safely correct those without having to come back.
Okay.
So good. All right, I think things look good.
Yes.
You ready?
That's all I had.
Give you
Yep.
guys more time if you need it, but, with that, I will entertain any discussion, further discussion or action on these. And I would ask that if a motion is made, we have an effective date included in that motion. I know we briefly discussed January 1st. So if that's something we kind of just want to toy on for a moment before we make a motion.
So if we do January 1st, that's less than 30 days notice.
We can give a full 30, we can do even more. That's what we talked about before. And there is the holidays in there, so I could see where pushing it back a little bit would be a good idea.
We want to go back further than January. How much further? Do we want to say?
We could just say like January 15th, give people a full
Yeah.
month and a half-ish. I guess actually the more of the question would be, Chris, health department wise, we want to distribute this to every, well, we kind of have already with the actual copy that's going in.
Yeah.
And as part of your department kind of checking with that compliance, how's a month-ish timeframe, you think?
That should be sufficient.
Okay.
So
No.
I'd like to make a motion to vote on the regulation prohibiting smoking in workplaces and public places with an effective date of January 15th, 2024.
Okay. I have a motion to, you mean approve regulation?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the
Mo-
word I was looking
All right,
for.
that's fine.
Motion to approve the regulation for prohibiting smoking in workplaces and public places with an effective date of January 15th, 2024.
All right, I have a motion to approve the regulation prohibiting smoking in workplaces and public places effective January 15th, 2024. Do I have a second?
Let's second that motion.
Second by Clay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous and approved. Okay. That is set to go. So we will, at the next meeting, have a hard copy to sign. That'll be the one that gets filed everywhere and will
Great.
go into effect.
Could we get that one emailed? like before the meeting, and that way, like with the final one that we're gonna sign, I just wanna do.
To triple check?
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. Thank you.
And then action on restricting the sale of tobacco products.
Yep. We can walk through this. Is this redlined as well, or is this the fine?
They're both the same.
Okay.
In terms of where
Okay.
they're at. So I think I mentioned, I just kind of in passing when I was reading through it, so the section about training and adult-only stores were left in because of the red line issue, so
Yep.
just obviously keep in mind those have been removed. Other than that, everything else should be what we've been looking at this whole time.
Because it's so long, it feels very intimidating. Make sure it's perfect.
I feel like we've looked this over so many times.
I know, it's like learned
Yep.
before me now, though.
Right, just look for Tisbury. That's an easy one.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, and this board has been looking at this for a year to 18 months now, so,
Right, I'm
know.
the newbie here. I've read it significantly less than y'all.
yeah.
so-
But granted, these little things keep sneaking up on us, so. I do want to take this opportunity while we're reading to mention, and this is mostly for people at home or in the audience, that, you know, we've had the questions before about why, you know, why we're changing certain things, maybe not taking away things we've done in the past. That doesn't mean that we won't take those into consideration, but the intention of this, when we took it on about a year and a half ago, was to make sure that the stuff we already have was as up to date as possible, making sure that references to 21 years old were in here over 18 and the proper things were in place. So things that maybe need to be reconsidered can be, they just were not as part of this because there's so much new stuff that needed to be included.
Maybe I missed this. Under section E, tobacco product sales permit, is there a reason we removed section 7?
Say the number again?
Section E,
E.
tobacco product sales permit, number 7.
Oh, yeah.
that note to be struck
we
through?
we did not remove that.
Okay.
I'll leave it
So
at that.
we're gonna leave this leave-in,
If
not a strike-through?
yeah, I
Okay.
believe that was what we decided on. I mean, we can
think-
make the decision now.
I'd like to make a motion
Hmm?
to unstrike number 7 of section E, tobacco product sales permit.
Motion.
Hold on. Can I just quickly backtrack for 1 second?
Yeah.
Did we make that tighter? Is that why we striked it? Did somewhere else we make, because remember we talked about like offenses, if it's your first offense, your second offense, your third offense, and I thought we made the, not the punishments, but like the fines more severe. Am I imagining that that
Well,
happened?
we did make them more stringent, but
Yeah.
it says here that it won't be, the permit won't be renewed if
It's
they've sold it
different.
to somebody who's under 21. My only 3 times, I guess maybe, yeah, and actually, Katie, to your point, maybe what this does by taking that out is instead of 3 times, it's 1.
Yeah.
Because now they don't have to sell it 3 times.
So you have under fines, whoever violates any provision of this regulation may be penalized with the assessment of fines as follows. So it's any regulation, not just the fact that they're selling to someone under 21.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
this one, it's, like, so they have to sell it to somebody under
It's
21
very
3
specific
times,
to
yeah.
just to someone under 21, whereas under your fines,
Right.
you have any provision of this regulation, which would be someone under the age of 21.
Yeah,
Right.
no person shall
And
or
that is,
offer
in the
for
first case
sale.
of a first violation, a fine of $1,000, in the case of second, so they would have these 3, and then they would also, if it was for selling to someone under 21, would also have their permit revoked if they did not appeal in time.
Okay, so we want
Does
to
that make
keep
sense?
7.
I think we
yeah, so
wanna
we're
keep,
gonna-
they're not redundant because they are separate things. Because you could have 3 different violations of this whole thing, but it wouldn't touch that part of it.
Okay.
Right?
Continue
Whereas
with
that's
your
specific
motion
to,
then.
that's
Yes.
specific to under 21.
Thank you.
Which I
see
think,
what you're saying.
which is, you know, something that we're including that I think should be there,
Yep.
and it looks like it was supposed to be there. Because you also have here, a tobacco product sales permit not be renewed if the permit holder has failed to pay all fines issued and the time period of appeal of the fines has expired. So that's the exact, it's similar to those that we saw, but that's still different than, this is a specific to under the age of 21 3 times.
Pardon me pulling my phone out, I'm just gonna see if there was a red line note
Yep.
on
No,
that
you're
in the
good.
first place. So, just
It
wanna
just makes me think that's
double-check
very
that.
similar to, like alcohol, like ABC, like
Mhm.
Alcohol Beverage Commission, like there's specific to service, and then there's specific to over-serving, there's specific to over-serving to someone, either serving under 21 or over-serving to someone under 21, like there's separate things, so I think that should make
Yeah,
sense.
I agree. I
Um,
think it needs to stay too. 'Cause there's
Double
nothing
check.
about the age and the other violations, but I get what you're saying.
Can I ask that there's a space under maximum number of tobacco product sales permits between 29 and
Yeah,
tobacco?
this is supposed to be.
Okay. That's nitpicking, but technically 29 tobacco is not what we're,
Pull this out here. All right, that's just loading real quickly.
Load. Adult only.
This mobile version here. All right, there's no note listed with that. It's just that it was deleted.
Okay, so
So-
that, I don't think that was in, so we'd like to keep that.
Okay,
So-
yeah, so, well, we can count that as a motion that you made earlier to,
And I would
unstrike that,
second.
and Katie
Okay.
seconded, so that's fine. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Great, thank you.
Opposed? And great, that's back in. So, all right, so re-include 7, so now there's 8, 9, something. That increases the number of subsections
Yep.
in there.
And then if I want just a space between words, is that a motion?
We don't, yeah.
Okay.
Any grammar things,
So
we can just.
the now
mark it.
determined 8 section, maximum number of tobacco product sales permits, section A, or subset A, there is a space between 29 and tobacco
Okay.
in the first sentence. Thank you. That's gonna bother me. Oh man, remember cigarette vending machines?
Mm.
Under, I guess it's section R, incorporation of laws and regulations. Did we want to strike state? Seeing as we're. Oh, because then later you say applicable federal, state, and local laws. So we wanted to say incorporation of laws and regulations.
What page are you on?
Oh, 11. I didn't realize there were things on the bottom.
I used number 2 or number 1 on under section R or whatever. That
The
number
actual
is.
section, we wanted to say incorporation of laws and regulations because it says applicable federal, state, and local
Yeah,
laws.
because
Okay.
those were stricken. They're just
Yep.
the weird gray.
I think at this point, I'm just confirming. Make sure it's good, because I want to be done with it.
I think the rest of it looks okay.
And same thing, when do we want the effective date?
I personally think they should go around the same time.
Same, I agree.
It would not surprise anybody.
Yeah.
I don't know if we get any feedback that needs to be changed, they can obviously consider that later, but. Only thing, I know we just added that section back in up at the top. It references down later. So subsection 6 of the violations section, does violations still exist as a titled section?
What page?
Yeah, it's now called enforcement.
Enforcement, so we should
Page
change that.
11,
And
you want to change enforcement to violations? Or you want to leave it as enforcement?
and violations needs to be changed to enforcement because it's
Yep.
in the title. But I just want to check is subsection 6. So in the case of 4 or egregious violations of any section of this regulation is, no, this is stricken.
Yep.
So what,
It looks like these that were stricken are there,
So-
they're just not as, they're
Right,
just
but-
broken out a little bit more.
yeah, so that's fine, but we have written in here, the violator may request a hearing in accordance with subsection 6 of the violation section, which doesn't exist.
Ah,
So we need to figure out where
okay,
that
but-
applies. That might be why this was stricken, because there's nothing to, related to anymore.
yep,
So subsection 6 was previously in the case of 4 violations, or repeated egregious violations, et cetera. So the question is, where does that now exist? I believe it's subsection 2 and then F.
I was about to say, I think E or F
Yeah.
would cover that. Cause not, those that are stricken is like specific to 3 or more, 4 or more.
Right, well, and
specific
actually,
aspect. This sounds
yeah.
like if there's anything that the board's agent needs to deal with, this is how it goes.
yeah, to the agent's order.
Yeah, I think
Um,
that,
Well, I mean, maybe I'm interpreting this wrong, but they would be ordered to, what's it called? Oh, they would, yeah, I guess, no. I guess the agent would not renew their permit, so that would still fall under that warning or suspension. May request a hearing before the board,
Mhm.
and then, because I think that could still work under F.
Mhm.
Although, the Board of Health may refuse to renew or revoke a tobacco sales permit after a public hearing and notice with the permit holder. So I guess it would be up to the Board of Health. And they would get a hearing anyways, if we were gonna not renew it. So I guess that's what makes that part a little tricky now.
Which part, Aaron? I'm getting
Yeah,
confused.
so on page 13, we have the Board of
Yeah.
Health may refuse to renew or revoke tobacco product sales permit
Review.
after a public hearing with notice to the permit holder. Said notice shall contain, that part's not the important part, it's that first section though. So we can refuse to renew them, but we have to give them a hearing anyway, so they don't need to request a hearing. So we could modify that to say that the violator may request a hearing because they're gonna have to get one if we're not gonna renew them, which is what we're telling them is gonna happen. They're not gonna have a renewed permit, and they will, later in the section, they're gonna have to have a public hearing.
The permit holder shall have an opportunity to be heard at such hearing, shall be notified of the decision and reasons therefor in writing.
So it says that though, so you mean you needed to say it somewhere else as well?
Well, so I guess, because the reference on page 7 to the section we added back in is to a section that doesn't exist. So
Oh, so you're trying to figure out where to
yeah, we either need to
reference.
make it work or remove that part.
I see. So
Yeah.
when we
Scratch
put this back
7.
in,
Yeah.
request a hearing in accordance with subsection 6 of the violation section, but now it's called the enforcement section,
That's what I should have gotten? Yeah.
is now called the enforcement.
That was the draft, I just needed the
Sorry,
2 sections
Oh,
taken out.
okay.
Enforcement section. And
A tobacco product permit will not be renewed if the permit holder has a sole. The violator may request a hearing in accordance with subsection 6 of the violations section.
Yeah, so actually, look at, hold on, I flipped the wrong page. So look at number 6, right above that. A tobacco product sales permit will not be renewed if the permit holder has failed to pay all fines and issues, and the time to appeal the fines has expired, and/or the permit holder has not satisfied any outstanding permit sections. It doesn't say anywhere about how they may request a hearing or any reference there. So we could probably safely strike that last sentence, because they don't need to request a hearing. If they're gonna not be
automatically
renewed,
get
we are going to have a hearing with them. And so then it would just read on section 7, a tobacco product sales permit will not be renewed if the permit holder has sold a tobacco product to a person under the age of 21 3 times within the previous permit year, and the time period to appeal has expired.
perfect, because we include how to appeal and everything else.
Okay.
So
I think we agree on that. I'm seeing heads, that
Yep.
we don't need to,
we agree,
Yeah.
yep. And just so, and also, yeah, because then we don't even have to include the enforcement. Yep, you're good.
so good, okay.
That makes sense.
So we're scratching the last sentence
Yep.
of 7 that we decided to leave.
We just put in, yeah.
Exactly. Okay. All right. So with that, I think we're in good shape. Obviously, take the time you need to look.
No, I think that was, that makes
That
sense.
is
Thank
the
you.
end of that, which is good. And thank you, Chris, for providing the previous copy. Okay. All right. If we are ready, we
Yeah.
can entertain action on this.
I will make a motion to vote to approve the changes made, or just to approve the regulation prohibiting smoking in workplaces and public places as of the same date we decided for tobacco products, which is
Looking at this one.
January 15th. Oh, the wrong one. I said the wrong one. Thank you. Okay.
And,
I was redoing the second one
if I may
again. Oh my gosh.
I'm just going to throw in, if we're going to vote to approve these now, I may want to hear an as amended, because we
Yeah.
did
As
make a lot of
amended.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we made a vote. So you can just-
Today.
And we did a couple small things, so
Let me try that again.
try it again. You got it.
Okay, I would like to make a motion to approve the regulation restricting the sale of tobacco products, and that's it, right? Not the second
Yes.
part.
Yes.
As amended, to be effective as of January 15th, 2024.
So I have a motion to approve the regulation of the Town of Abington Board of Health restricting the sale of tobacco products as amended, effective January 15th, 2024. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Amanda. Any further discussion?
I just want to say that I am very excited about slowly decreasing the number of sales businesses in town. I think it's a lovely thing that we've done. That
Any
is all.
further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It
No.
is unanimous. Okay.
Good job.
So those are in. We will get hard copies that are written correctly, signed, and, Chris, can we get these out online tomorrow?
Probably not tomorrow, no.
Okay. This week?
Probably not. I'm
Okay.
in the middle of a public records request right now, so I'm
Let
bogged down
let me
with that.
rephrase that. Can I work with people in this office to get this out this week? Is that all right?
Absolutely.
Perfect.
There
Great.
you go.
It's called working together. Perfect. All right. With that, unless there's anything else to be mentioned on this, we can move on to our next agenda item. All right, seeing none. Next is a discussion regarding new stable regulations. I say new as if we had them, we don't, so they are new to us, I guess.
Yep.
This can be a very short discussion. I think all, and thank you for bringing this up, because we do need to get rolling on
Yeah,
this.
I put this on there because
Yeah.
I was like, hopefully we can vote on this then, and then we can just start the next discussion.
Yeah, so.
'Cause I'm ramped up, let's do this.
Yeah, we're all motivated. So there are a few, I think a few things with this. Chris, you have a suggestion, right, on layout wise, would be good to see.
Which I appreciate you sharing all the municipalities. I started putting it all together, and then I have it all together, and it's in a draft email, so I thank you for actually following through on that one.
No problem.
Appreciate it.
It was lovely.
Yeah, so I started to look through to see, what neighboring towns or any towns in Massachusetts have listed on their site for stable regs. Rockland, Carver, Stoughton, and Brockton have their stable regulations enveloped in animal regulations. The boarding of basically outdoor animals. So it was just, my suggestion might be, since we don't have stable regs in place, if we're going to do them, it may be worthwhile looking at animal regs. Just for instance, right now, chicken coops, the only rules and regulations in Abington are either zoning or under ACO. So the Board of Health has no, other than a public nuisance.
I think, yeah, we looked, as someone who owns chickens and apparently is under violation for a lot of neighboring towns, but in Abington, I'm just fine. In terms of free-ranging chickens and other things. We looked at, and I think I had called either Board of Health and zoning years ago when we first did this, and they were basically like, as long as your coop is, if it's less than 10 foot by 10 foot and it doesn't include the run, do whatever you want to do. And a
Yeah.
10 foot by 10 foot coop is, that's like 100 chickens. So that's not our thing. But we still backed it up off, but there's no lot, yeah, it's very basic. There's no rooster, there's no cleanliness, rodent control. I think most time it's fine, but I'm sure there are some neighbors that are
Yeah.
bothered by some people. So I can see that as a need, as someone who owns chickens.
Yeah, and briefly, when I looked at some of the ones that I think Rockland that encompass other animals also put, like if somebody has more than 10 dogs or more than 18 cats, it's a limit where suddenly.
Isn't Massachusetts like over 4 dogs is a kennel license required, or is that a municipality thing?
It may be municipal, I'm not sure, this is my first time delving into.
Yeah, in my head, I have 4 dogs or more, you need a kennel license. I just assumed that was statewide. But
could be.
now I'm curious if it's something else.
I was going to mention, pardon my looking at the phone, what it was doing there was
Yeah.
looking for Massachusetts Association of Health Boards as well. So we have the communities around us. Do they have examples or templates that we can use as we've done here? They have a couple
Okay.
Do they?
in terms of keeping of animals, which maybe will fall into some of what we need. So we can kind of take a look maybe between the template that's available and some of the communities around us and figure out what we need to fit our bill. Because just kind of overview, I mean, how we'll handle it is the same way we did these. We'll put the draft together, we can kind of Frankenstein together what we need, and we'll send it off to town council, wait 600 months, and then they'll get back to us with what it'll be. And then
Yeah.
obviously, there's a fee that needs to be set, right?
It
Yeah,
can't be more
and
than $40.
Yeah, according to
Yeah.
this, it can't be more than $40, and that has to be town meeting.
Town meeting, right, so.
I mean, and the plus side is this is for private stables, and we have maybe 4 or 5 in Abington. We don't have any riding stables or commercial ones, so it's not like
Yeah.
there's horses in dire straits waiting for our legislation. It's just something that we're required to do that we're not doing, so.
So I think maybe plan-wise, what we can do to move forward with these, let's pull out the 2 drafts that I just found there. We can look at those.
Yeah.
And then let's have a copy of MGL available, and maybe we'll pull a surrounding community or 2 as well. So we'll have a few things there. We can start to kind of Frankenstein what ours should look like and then make it work.
Yeah, I
that-
think,
that
I think it's
works.
really reasonable, because definitely like what you had sent around, sorry, I didn't think, The fee for such license shall be established in a town-by-town meeting action, and city-by-city council action, and in a town with no town meeting by town council action, by adoption of appropriate bylaws and ordinances. So because we do have a town meeting, it has to be a town meeting action.
Right.
Got it. Okay, I thought we could just do a bylaw, sorry.
So we probably want to have a conversation then, how that looks, because if it's like how the plastic bags looked, I mean, that's in the bylaw, and then we also have a regulation, but they like work off each other, but they're independent of each other too.
Okay.
So I wonder how we'll have to lay that out, or whatever motion we'll need to make and
Yeah.
all of that.
That might be
so.
tight for us to get it onto the town meeting, if we would have to wait for town council to come back.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we can push the issue if it needs to go there. That might be able to, something we can make happen faster if
Okay.
it's a town meeting vote.
Especially
but-
if we have templates and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, we can maybe speak to the selectmen and advocate for us to get that done, but,
Yeah. Otherwise, it'll be almost an entirely new board a year from now, so.
Right.
by the time this stuff gets sorted out.
Yeah, I like the idea of having some annual regulations, because as I think homesteading is becoming more and more popular, and as someone who is familiar with some of this stuff, I wanted to do it above the books, 5, 6 years ago, and it took some figuring out, and kind of just, there was a point where I was like, I'm just gonna build it, and better to ask for forgiveness and permission kind of thing.
Right.
And so I think it would just be nice to have in case you do have someone who, decides to get a couple goats or a pig or a bunch of rabbits.
And it's great with the regulations that we have. I mean, the statement of purpose and the authority, I mean, does a good job of kind of condensing down a lot of why we're doing the things we're doing. And that would be good for somebody first time trying to figure out what they can do. They're going to get a lot of that information in one shot. So if that's something at least we can do by pulling it from wherever we need to pull it,
Yeah.
I think it's a good service we can do to the community, not only for the regulation purpose.
Yeah,
So,
perfect.
all right, so we'll put this on the agenda for next week, next meeting as well. We'll include, I'll work with the health department to not overburden their printers and make sure we have sufficient copies, one way or another, for us to look at, to create something. And we'll try and start to build that out a bit. The sooner we get it done, I mean, if it's something we can do, maybe by our first meeting in January, second meeting in January, just get something together.
Yeah.
We might be able to speed things along a bit. I mean, looking at some of these, they're like 4 or 5 page documents, so that shouldn't take us as long as something like this did.
Yeah, and looking through I read each one that you sent over, and they're almost all very similar. If you have a horse, you have to have at least 20,000 square feet of availability. It can't be, 100 feet from neighboring lot. It can't be within 100 feet of a well, like all that. A lot of it was very, very similar. There was only one that was like 10 feet from the lot, and I was like, that's very, very close. But everyone else was very similar, so I think it should be pretty straightforward. Cool.
With that, any further discussion on that or anything else we want to discuss there? Nope, okay. All right, next to approve our minutes from November 20th. Everybody should have a copy of those. Do I have any action there?
I will make a motion to approve the minutes from November 20th, 2023.
Motion to approve the minutes from November 20th, 2023 by Katie. Do I have a second?
Second that motion.
Second from Clay. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? They are approved. Public comment? Public, do you have anything you'd like to comment? Nothing? Oh, thank you, public. And correspondence, does the health department or the board have any correspondence to share?
Not really, although I will mention, when, we were forced, not this last weekend, but the weekend before, to close the compost site on Saturday due to a staffing shortage. Number of residents in town feel that their taxes should be paying for full-time staff up there. That's not how that works, but I do want to let people know that as we're looking at our budget for FY '24, we are putting a request in for an increased salary so that we can get part-time person up there. So if having it open during the week and being staffed by a paid employee of the town is your jam, let your selectmen know.
Thanks.
All right.
We'd still keep you on Saturdays.
You're like, I can't lose that.
All right, any other correspondence to share? None? All right, with that, that is the end of our agenda, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
We'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Clay, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Katie, any further discussion? Nope, there isn't one of those there. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And we are adjourned.
Thank you.